There's a reason your cup of Lavazza coffee tastes so good. That's because each coffee bean in your cup was sourced from the best farms, have traveled thousands of miles, and have undergone more transformations than a supermodel addicted to plastic surgery. But even with all this, how does Lavazza coffee remain so fresh, and what exactly is it made of? There's only one way to find out, so stick around to the end. The origins of Lavazza coffee. Now, you may think coffee is just about boiling water and pouring it into a cup. But it actually took one man with a crazy idea to change coffee forever. That man was Luigi Lavazza. Back in 1895, he wasn't some big business guy. He was just a regular shop owner in Turin, Italy, trying to keep his little grocery store running. People came in to buy rice, flour, oil, and sometimes a bit of coffee. But coffee back then, it was totally different from what we drink today. In those days, most people drank single-origin coffee. That means the beans came from just one place, like Brazil or Ethiopia, and they tasted kind of plain. So Luigi started experimenting. He didn't have fancy machines or high-tech labs. He just used his nose, taste buds, and a curious mind. He began blending beans from different regions and noticed that when he mixed them just right, the taste exploded. Some beans were strong and bold, others were light and fruity. Together, they made magic. This wasn't normal at the time. No one thought blending beans could make such a big difference. But Luigi kept going. He believed that each type of coffee bean brought something special to the table, and combining them was like making music with different instruments. One bean gave the bass, another gave the melody. Together, it became a symphony in your cup. His family noticed how customers kept coming back for his coffee blends. Soon, the grocery store became known more for its coffee than anything else. So the Lavazza family made a big decision. They stopped focusing on groceries and went all in on coffee. That's how the Lavazza brand began. But they didn't stop at just making good coffee. Over the years, the Lavazza family worked hard to turn their small idea into a big deal. They opened factories, trained experts, and even started traveling the world to find the best beans out there. Their goal was simple: make a cup of coffee that anyone could enjoy, no matter where they lived. Today, Lavazza blends aren't just about taste. They're also about the story. When you sip a Lavazza espresso or cappuccino, you're tasting over 100 years of tradition, family, and passion. And it all started with one guy in a tiny grocery store who thought, hey, what if we mix these beans together? Now that's what you call a flavorful beginning. But sourcing coffee beans from different parts of the world is just the beginning. After that, the beans are brought back to Italy, and that's when the main manufacturing process starts. The roasting process. Now that the beans have finally landed in Italy, it's time for the real magic to begin. This is where roasting comes in. And trust me, roasting isn't just about throwing beans into an oven and waiting around. It's a science. And Lavazza has totally mastered it. Inside Lavazza's big roasting facilities in Turin and Gattinara, things get hot. And I mean really hot. The green beans come in looking dry and dull. But once they go into those giant machines, everything changes. The roasters crank up the heat, and the beans start dancing. You can actually hear them popping and cracking like popcorn. That's called the first crack, and it's a big moment in the roast. As the heat rises, the beans change color from green to yellow, then to light brown, and finally to dark brown. But color is just a part of the story. While this is happening, hundreds of tiny chemical reactions are taking place inside each bean. These reactions bring out the oils, the smells, and most importantly, the taste. Now here's the cool part. Lavazza doesn't roast all their beans the same way. Nope, they know that different beans need different treatment. A bean from Ethiopia might need a lighter roast to show off its fruity notes, while a bean from Brazil might need a darker roast for a fuller body. So they adjust the time and temperature for each blend. Sometimes the beans roast for just a few minutes. Other times it takes longer, but every second counts. The people working these machines aren't just pressing buttons either. They're roasting masters. They sniff the air, watch the color, and even taste the beans to make sure everything is going perfectly. If they miss the mark by even a little, the flavor could be off. That's how serious it is. And the smell? Oh wow. If you ever walk past one of Lavazza's roasting plants, the smell alone could stop you in your tracks. It's warm, rich, slightly sweet, and makes you want to drink a whole pot of coffee right there on the spot. After roasting, the beans get cooled down fast to stop the cooking process. Then they're sent off to the next stage, which is grinding and packaging. The grinding stage. Now this is where the beans make a transformation into the traditional coffee look. After the beans have been roasted to perfection, they move on to the next big step in their journey, which is grinding. You may think grinding is just a quick step like smashing some beans and calling it a day. But no, this part actually plays a huge role in how your coffee tastes, and Lavazza doesn't take it lightly. So first things first, not all coffee drinkers like their coffee the same way. Some people want strong, punchy espresso. Others want smooth, slow-brewed French press. And some people, well, they want to grind the beans themselves just because they love that fresh smell. That's why Lavazza offers different grind sizes for different types of brewing. But how do they figure out which grind works for what? That's where science and experience comes in. For espresso, Lavazza grinds the beans super fine. We're talking almost powdery. Why? Because espresso machines push hot water through the coffee at high pressure. And in just a few seconds, if the grind is too coarse, the water rushes through too fast and the flavor doesn't develop. But if the grind is just right, it creates this rich, creamy, bold shot of espresso with that lovely golden foam on top, called crema. Now, if you're more into French press, the grind needs to be much coarser. That's because French press coffee steeps in hot water for a few minutes. If the grind is too fine, it can get muddy and bitter. You'll also end up with tiny particles floating in your cup, which nobody wants. So Lavazza grinds those beans just enough to give you smooth flavor without any of that grit. There's also a medium grind, which is great for drip coffee makers or pour-over methods. This is what a lot of people use at home. It's not too fine, not too coarse, just balanced. Kinda like Goldilocks found the perfect bowl of porridge. But Lavazza doesn't just guess this stuff. They use high-tech grinding machines that can adjust the grind level with precision. They test each grind type to make sure the size is consistent, because even tiny charges can mess with the flavor. Imagine one cup being super strong and the next one tasting like flavor water. Nobody wants that. And here's something cool. Lavazza grinds the coffee in special conditions that keep oxygen away. Why? Because oxygen can make the coffee go stale fast. So the grinding happens in controlled environments to lock in the aroma and freshness. At the end of the day, the grinding stage is way more than just smashing beans. It's about turning perfectly roasted coffee beans into something that suits every kind of drinker. Whether you want to sip slowly in the morning or get hit with a bold espresso shot to wake you up, Lavazza makes sure the grind is exactly what you need. Packaging and quality control. Now let's talk about what happens right after the grinding is done. You might think they just pack it up and ship it out, but Lavazza treats this stage like a science experiment, mixed with a treasure chest. This part is where they seal in the magic, and they don't mess around. As soon as the coffee is ground, Lavazza moves fast. They pack the coffee as quickly as possible to make sure all those fresh flavors and smells don't escape. Time is super important here. If they wait too long, the coffee could lose its smell and taste. And let's be honest, stale coffee is one of life's biggest disappointments. Now, the packaging isn't just some plastic bag or random box. Lavazza uses high-tech vacuum seal bags and nitrogen flushing. Yeah, nitrogen. That's because oxygen is the enemy of fresh coffee. It makes the oils go bad and the flavor fades away. So instead of letting air mess with their product, Lavazza fills the bags with nitrogen to push the oxygen out. That way, when you open that package at home, it smells like it just got roasted 5 minutes ago. And let's not forget about the pods and capsules. Lavazza also makes those super single-serve coffee pods that fit into machines. These things are packed super tight with the right amount of coffee and sealed in a way that keeps the flavor locked in for months. It's like each pod is its own tiny coffee vault. But while all that's happening, Lavazza is also doing serious quality control. They don't just hope for the best. They run tests at every stage. First, they test the beans when they arrive. If a batch doesn't meet their standards, it's rejected. Simple as that. Then after roasting and grinding, they do taste tests. Yep, real people taste every batch of coffee, not once, not twice, but many times to make sure it tastes just right. And it doesn't stop there. Lavazza has labs where they check things like moisture levels, grind size, smell, color, and even how the coffee behaves in different machines. They run brew tests to make sure your cup at home will taste as good as the one they tested. They even check the noise of grinding machines. If something sounds off, it could mean something's wrong inside. That's how deep they go. Even after everything is packed, Lavazza does spot checks before shipping out the products. They inspect the packages for leaks, weak seals, or damage, because no one wants to order coffee and get a package that smells like it exploded in the truck. All of this might sound a bit over the top, and it actually is what keeps Lavazza ahead of the game. They care about the tiniest detail so you don't have to. You just open the pack, make your coffee, and enjoy. So as you can see, the rich, bold, perfectly balanced flavor doesn't happen by accident. It happens because Lavazza makes sure every single step is handled with care, from bean to bag to your cup. Now, beyond crafting delicious coffee, Lavazza is dedicated to sustainability. They invest in eco-friendly practices and work to support the communities where they source their beans. Additionally, Lavazza continually seeks innovative ways to improve their products and processes, ensuring they remain a leader in the coffee industry. So from a small shop in Turin to a global coffee powerhouse, what do you think about Lavazza's journey in the coffee business? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to know the stories behind how your favorite brands are made from scratch.